So great. So we have started recording this meeting. Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Dow, co-chair of the CPAC. I just want everyone to please mute their audio. It just works much better for us to be able to hear everybody's questions. If you're not able to figure out how to do it, I'm happy to do it for you. And also, because this is recorded, we're just asking that you keep your questions general and not identify your children. Let's just protect the privacy of the children, please. And Eric's right here.
Great. Thank you, Mary. I appreciate it. I'm going to try to work the waiting room as well a little bit. I think we can both do that together. So that'll be good. But yeah, so as Mary mentioned, if you're able to mute your audio, I know as a couple more people start rolling in, it may not be set to automatically mute you, but it does help with our bandwidth as well and yours too. So just to hopefully keep things as smooth as possible. But anyway, thank you for joining. For those of you we've seen for multiple weeks since July, since we started these, thank you again for joining. And if you're new today, welcome. We hope that this is a collaborative experience for you. I don't really have many updates, which I think is a good thing. Overall, Mary and I were just chatting for a couple of minutes before admitting everyone from the waiting room. And overall, I think generally speaking within our district as a whole, we're in a good place. There's a lot of momentum that's being built, and general education, special education combined, I think, again, as a district. And so that's a lot, good news in general. And really the work continues to be done at the building level with regards to any blips with tech or just scheduling, logistic structures, things that that nobody may have been able to anticipate or understand kind of what the consequences were, or playing out those scenarios. So I would again just encourage you, if you do have questions or concerns certainly related to special education, start with your child's case manager and or team chair at the building level. It's not my approach usually to delegate, but I really the crux of that message there, expectation, is just because I know less about the building-based specifics comparative to our team chairs and our case managers. So again, if you have specific questions, start there. If for some reason you don't hear back in a day or so, feel free to loop me in. I am hopeful and optimistic that our staff will get back to you in a very timely manner, especially right now where we're trying to settle in to things and create structures for your children. But please, continue that communication. That's really all we're looking for right now in collaboration, so that we can continue to work together. So honestly, other than that, Mary, I don't really have anything overarching. If we have some dead air, I can provide some maybe minor, details and things like that. But I just want to turn it to parents now, if there are any specific questions or concerns.
Sure. If anybody has a question, please chat it to me and I will read it for you. It seems to be the easiest way to make that work. So if anybody has any questions, they can just raise their hand and let me know that they're typing or start typing. But it's funny, I've been looking at different things online on how to keep the children at home occupied. And how to keep them focused on their studies. And one parent, I can't remember who it was, posted, they took their bike and they put the back wheels up a little bit, like on training wheels. So the kid was at a desk and they were pedaling the whole time. So it kept them like, it helped the child focus, right? So everyone's getting all these great little tricks on how to keep kids engaged while sitting at a desk all day. And I thought that was a pretty neat idea. And it just really doesn't take any effort whatsoever,
That's great. We do have, for some students, I'm sure you may be familiar, Mary, or some parents on here, especially at the elementary level, there are just, little, I guess basically that's what it is, just pedals that sometimes we do have, for some students that just need that, kind of either for sensory reasons or for just kind of that movement and putting it under students' desks in school. I've seen that before, but the actual bike, I love it. The homeschool.
It was pretty awesome. It was a great video of a kid, a kindergartner sitting on her bike, watching her screen and doing her work. It was pretty cool.
I love that.
but we're not getting any questions.
So one thing that I did want to bring up today, and I think the team chairs may communicate this a little bit, outwardly a little bit more to their buildings, is just around the topic of IEP meetings right now. So just as a reminder, certainly due to the pandemic and trying to limit traffic flow within buildings, we're moving forward with fully remote IEP meetings. So far, other than some technical bandwidth issues within some schools, and unfortunately, I think it's been pretty minor. Things have gone well. I think there's a lot of benefits actually to that. There's just less kind of downtime, if you will, of just physically walking to the office and settling in and doing all those things. It's pretty efficient, as we see here on Zoom. So that's a good thing. But certainly there are just restrictions with not being in the same room as everyone and kind of feeling that collaborative approach. So the team chairs are going to try to work on trying to just maximize that as much as possible, because that just dovetails right into what we want those meetings to be, is collaborative. And it's, we want to get away from kind of that robotic approach of one person talks, everyone listens, and everyone takes their turn. But it's hard to replicate that collaborative approach, I think, on Zoom, or harder. So that's just one thing, bear with us. We'll try our best, and feel free to, bring your virtual coffee and donuts for everyone, whatever it takes to be collaborative in those meetings. But that's really it. That was just a minor thing I just wanted to bring up.
Great. So now we have 10 participants, but
Right.
okay. I've got a half a question that's coming in, so I'll admit some more folks here. So I have from a parent, my son is second grade Coffin. When will her or his speech start?
So good question. So speech should have started already. So I don't want to get in, specifically, as I've mentioned at the outset of these, to individual student discussions, and I won't go into the child's IEP at this point. But certainly, if you want to reach out to me, directly, kind of offline here via email, we can kind of get to the bottom of this. The team chair at Coffin is Meredith Wishart. She is very communicative and responsive with regards to rectifying any miscommunications here and there. But we do have a couple of different speech language pathologists at Coffin for this year working. Jamie Yomtov, who's typically our Coffin School speech language pathologist, is actually working remotely this year. And then we have another SLP, Hillary Goldsmith. She's another elementary speech language pathologist that's covering some of Coffin as well. So my expectation has been that those should have started already. If you have not received communication for some reason, if you know your child's case manager, that would be the special education teacher assigned to work with your child, then please reach out to them. You should have hopefully already received a parent engagement form and communication from that teacher. Please, if you have not, as soon as you can, either email me or Meredith Wishart, or both of us is fine, just to let us know the specifics of that, and we can work together as soon as possible on that.
Great. I've got another question. It's not a full question. Question on Edgenuity and our students on IEPs.
Can I ask
yes,
directly?
you can, Scott.
Thank you.
Please.
Hey, Eric. So I've been hearing multiple reports from parents that a couple things that I want to just make sure that our students that maybe have chosen the remote option, that may be given Edgenuity as their strategy. One is really simple, like well beyond kind of the areas that they're at, and so that piece. And then two, support, and whether our students are getting access to real people as well. It doesn't sound like it from the reports, at least from the two parents I've talked with. And then I heard a teacher, because we can listen to our children over their shoulder, also reflecting on some things around it as well. So I'm just wondering if there's any percolating going on. I'm just concerned our students on our IEPs may be in a very vulnerable position with that.
Yep, there's been a lot of percolating going on there, a lot of noise, I'll be honest with you, from yours truly. Just asking questions about that. I think at the end of the day right now, very generally speaking, as much as we've kind of taken the approach with our direct services and kids with disabilities coming into the school prior to that October 5th date, Edgenuity is another layer of that, I think. And Edgenuity, is only existing right now at the high school as a class option. Certainly that would not be my first preference for that to be a class, but I can appreciate and respect the approach that is being taken by Principal Bauer and really looking kind of case by case initially as to if it's not specific to a child's disability, right, that online class or not, let's explore whether that can be an option or not, right, if that makes sense. So if, even if a kid has an IEP, but there's evidence that that kid can be independent and self-paced, and Edgenuity, why not? Why can't that be an option? On the other side, though, we got to be extremely locked in and targeted on, is that appropriate or not? And if we're going to continue down that path, the support has to be there. And I will give all the credit in the world to Paula Donnelly, that is like being the advocate and a half on that for every kid that's been assigned that. And unfortunately, it may take a couple more days, but I know that there's been some shifts with that, with the expectation there. And just the collaboration of the scheduling, which is guidance and our assistant principal, and then Paula from the special ed side working on that. So as I'm sure you can imagine, you've lived at the high school just in terms of student numbers is larger, but then just the schedule itself at Marblehead High School is complex. And so I think when that initial scheduling went out, things fell in how they weren't ideal, but I can assure you that's being worked through. And I would encourage those parents to continue to stay on it because I think we were all on the same page. We just got to get there as soon as possible. With that.
Great.
Awesome. And just so everybody is aware, I put Scott on. He is a member of the CPAC board. He's not getting special treatment. He is a board member, and we are sponsoring these with Eric. So it was just easier to pop him on as a board member to express himself. I currently don't have any more questions right now.
I'll take this another opportunity to just plug, as I have in the past, Dr. Jody Carrington. So she's a clinical psychologist out of Canada, Alberta, Canada area, has kind of come onto the scene, if you will, within social emotional learning, trauma-informed instruction, and really looking at mental health in terms of kind of being one of the, I don't want to say leading experts, but really, I guess, in educational pop culture, if you will, has really, gained a lot of popularity. She'll be joining our district on Tuesday, October 13th. At 1:00, she'll be joining our entire district staff to provide a presentation virtually via Zoom to discuss, mental health of ourselves as educators, and then how to really work on those types of things, but also then in turn be able to target ways to discover, to look for those triggers, if you will, for kind of the trauma informed work, and how can we identify kid, what are those triggers or just some of those, I'm blanking on the word, but the things that we have to look for in the classroom for kiddos, especially in a pandemic. And then alternatively at 7:00 that evening, there will be a Zoom session as well, targeted for parents, really working, how do we parent in this time right now? What can we do at home, again, for ourselves as parents, but also for our kids? And I'm just as interested as a parent in that, of two very young ones, as I am as a director of student services in our district. So I just wanted to put that out there again. Again, it's October 13th. There will be ample press that I'll be sending out. I know Mary, as from CPAC, is going to throw things out as well. The district and CPAC, we're going to co-sponsor it. It's not just for parents of students with disabilities. It's for any and all community members. So I just wanted to take a moment to plug that as well.
Awesome. There's a follow-up question regarding Scott's question.
Yep.
Assuming the same support applies to the virtual high school classes.
Meaning I'm guessing, I'm so sorry here. Lisa, if I could ask, I can see the questions, and if I could just ask, do you mean if a child's kind of fully remote now within our district, or is that if your child is outside of, our district and kind of those DESE approved platforms, I guess.
Right. She's in the district and will be elective remote for the year.
Okay.
Thankfully, we thought that she'd be on a lot of VHS classes. So thankfully it's just one, and one one that she hates. So I wonder if that's good. It's a foreign language class.
Okay.
And she's struggling, but without going into the full
Yeah.
details, I was just wondering if some sort of support would apply to any of the classes for students that are on the VHS platform.
Yeah, so thank you, Lisa, for clarifying. So I guess, I'll give you the generic answer, if you will, to start, is that, from a special education standpoint or lens, not only the IEP, but the IEP to start really needs to dictate that level of service for every class across the board, right? With our service delivery grid and then accommodations and different parts of that IEP, right? The on paper needs to at least drive the initial conversation, and that alludes or dovetails, right into the schedule. With that said, as I've mentioned, week in and week out, your feedback, your input, your ability to give us what's really going on at home, or in that virtual realm is going to help to drive, hey, do we need to make a scheduling change or do we need to add support? And is that through the lens of a child's disability, right? Or areas of weakness. And, especially in a pandemic right now, where everything is upside down, we need to take it that next step, in a collaborative way to say, hey, this VHS class just isn't working, or it could work if this was structured a little bit differently. So, I would say the short answer is yes, that should apply. The long of it is, my recommendation would be, let's please find an opportunity to connect. And I really think that, Paula Donnelly, the team chair at the high school, which she's been more and more involved in this scheduling, which I appreciate, and I'm happy that she is. So she has a good grasp on things, but she's able to see, certainly more than I am, kind of the big picture, if you will, the whole high school kind of on paper in terms of structure, schedules, and just different opportunities. So if that VHS class isn't working, what are those alternatives? So I think her, in conjunction with guidance, will be able to lead you into, some alternative options. So I hope that that's helpful. I would definitely say reach out.
Okay.
If you can't get anywhere else, I'm happy to, support that as well. But there should be other options.
I feel like, she's only in like class 2, I think, with VHS. Yep. So yeah. I'm thinking like over the next month, while the elective remote is more fully in gear, that, we can see if there's any hiccups or whatever that we can discuss. But yet again, also, thanks so much for working out the schedule around that.
No, and thank you for that mindset. I think it's for all of us right now. It's easy to potentially look to pull the trigger, and say we need to make a switch because it's not working. And that's nobody's fault. I think that's just the nature of everyone, from, teachers to parents and everyone in between, everyone's level of just angst and stress right now. I think it's easy. I've had conversations with parents throughout the week, about, we got to make a switch. It's been 4 school days and, and we get that. And in some instances, maybe it is appropriate. Maybe we just missed the mark, right? Fortunately, I haven't seen that or heard that yet, but so I appreciate that. I think, if we can allow ourselves and our kiddos to just have a little bit of opportunity here to try to get into some sense of structure and new normal, transition back into school, that'll better inform us. I know that that's really hard. It's super hard for me. It's just not my mindset. So I can appreciate the desire to want to make a switch and make an adjustment. But I think if we can allow a couple of weeks at least, I think that would be super helpful. So thank you for that. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Currently no new questions. We did have one additional person join, so we'll give her a minute to come up to speed, but currently no.
Mary, any updates, anything overarching at this point, or longer term goals within CPAC for the year, or anything that's on the radar?
Currently we are thinking about putting out more participation, direct participation with parents, beyond this weekly. Trying to do more online events without trying to overload people with too much online stuff, right? So where's that fine line where you put on these things and then nobody shows up because everybody's had enough Zoom by 7 p.m. that night,
Totally.
So yeah, we're working out some things. We had a conference scheduled for last year, and unfortunately the pandemic took us out, right? So we're trying to rework some of the events that were happening at the conference to make them accessible for people for this year, and tweak some things a little bit for remote learning to make it accessible for everybody, not just special education, but now all students, right? So yeah, we're working on that. So it's almost like recreating our conference from last year.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're really excited about to put out to people.
Great. That's great.
And always check our website. It's always being updated and everything. We're getting postings from the charter school also have events and things going on. So we're helping them spread the word too. So check out our Facebook page and our website because there are updates on there constantly.
Thanks for mentioning charter. Andrea Barlow, their new director of student services, has been great. Just, her approach has been extremely communicative. Not to say that the prior directors wasn't, but I think, that to your point, Mary, she had already explained to me or let me know that they had already, I believe, put on, there was one presentation already. She welcomed, our district parents too, or excuse me, our staff too. So, even though we're on paper two separate districts, if you will, right? Charter is totally not part of Marblehead Public, as I've said, and I appreciate Andrea's approach too, is we're in the same town. Let's be collaborative and work together. So thanks for bringing that up, and we'll continue to do that. And Dr. Jody Carrington, certainly she's aware of that. And if any of her staff and parents and families want to join that, then let's do it. It's what's best for all of us here.
Sure. And I mean, we also have to consider there's a lot of families that have children in charter and in district, right? So
Right.
There's some families that have dual enrollment, if you will, for both schools. So
Totally.
it's great to just kind of bring everyone together on that. Nobody feels like chatting today. It's things are going well. So
I think it's the nature of that, Mary. I think there is a lot to be proud of. Certainly parents, are at the forefront of that in trusting our work and in supporting what we're doing, at home, things that we're presenting as a district to our kids, and supporting that at home and entrusting us to put forward, a solid plan. And again, it's what day 8. But, I think that again, things are going well. And I think at the same time, again, things are really at the building level right now and a little bit specific. There's less overarching info or new things that I need to present or discuss, which again, I think is a good thing. It doesn't mean that we're trying to backtrack or work out different kinks and we went down the wrong path. I think, again, we didn't do everything perfectly. That might be impossible ever to do, but I think we're in a good place overall. So that's a good thing.
yeah. So does anybody have anything to add? Anybody's have any thoughts or have any positive experience they want to share? I mean, we don't all have to have questions to be answered, but maybe some positive experiences that they've had through coming back to school in this unique way, which for the kids it's a little bittersweet to come back and not be able to always be with your peers, right? So I think they're handling it. From what I understand, most kids are handling it pretty well, and I think this is like their new normal, right? Kids are pretty resilient, and I think we have to give them more credit than we've given them in the past, maybe, that they can handle this stuff. They can handle it. So it's great. By this, no responses. It sounds like, they are handling it well. The kids are doing well.
We had our teaching and learning subcommittee that had started, in July with Nan Murphy, our assistant superintendent. We've kept, we've touched base. I think, obviously that all that planning's done now that the school year has started, but it's important that we just, maybe not every week, but regularly do check in. And that's, all the building principals are part of that, certainly community members. And Brian Oda, the principal of Glover School yesterday, just reflected on the kindergartners and first graders now back in session. They're back in the building, and he was so overwhelmingly impressed at just the kids, their ability to, they have their masks on, and it just was no big deal. And like the adults, I think we were so concerned about that, of how can they even do this? Granted, again, it's only been 3 days of in session, but still, like, just that initial feedback, those first days are the most meaningful and impactful in terms of seeing, hey, can this work? And it was really nice to hear. So I agree with you, Mary. I think our kids are so resilient. We hear that all the time, but what an example, to put that to the test. And I think it's really true.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I think we might be ending this a little early. Nobody's
Okay.
very chatty.
It's all right. Ebbs and flows.
Yeah. Oh, we're getting so far so good. Thank
Hi.
you. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, everyone's just saying thank you. So thank you everyone too for coming, because I know it's difficult with distant learning and your days being busy to come at 1 o'clock on a Wednesday. Sometimes it can be a little difficult. So we appreciate everyone taking the time to come here and join us.
Yeah, next week, there will be, I think, put the potential for some more discussion. Next Monday we'll have more elementary kiddos joining the mix, and then in preparation for that big October 5th day that I think everyone's really looking forward to continuing to expanding our in-person work. So we'll continue our sessions, each Wednesday moving forward. At least for a little bit longer. Again, as I said, I think last week, Mary, until it's just you and I on these calls.
Right. And then, who knows, maybe we just spread them out a little bit more,
Right.
Just to keep that communication going. So if we're not having a lot of people showing up every week, maybe think about transitioning to every other week.
Yeah.
We're also going to do, introduce you to some new CPAC board members. So we're going to do a Sign Up Genius, and they're going to be coming on this and helping to host, so you don't have to see me every week, right? So we'll switch it up, and you'll get to meet the whole CPAC board, which will be nice to get them out there and get everybody meeting them and knowing who they are.
Awesome.
So we're getting a lot of thank yous. So thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, and hope to see you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
All right, bye.
Bye.